All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome back to the open agenda, and apologies for the shuffle around and getting things done, but it is just one of those days. Let's now move to adoption, the decision whether to apply for exemption from RMA plan stop requirement, proposed plan change 6A, which is page 253 of your agenda. And David and Lisa are joining us. While they do so, can I move recommendations A and B, that the report be received and recognised as not significant, seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carried. All yours, Lisa. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou tātou. As set out in the report, we are seeking council approval to make an application for exemption to the council's Plan Stop Directive for Plan Change 6A. Excuse me. Plan Stop is a new government direction that was included as part of the latest round of Resource Management Act amendments and has been progressed very quickly. It was introduced during the second reading of the bill, became public on the 16th of July and gained royal assent on the 21st of August. The directive was that the work that council initiated plan changes and private plan changes that had been adopted by council would need to stop, and there would be a 90 working day window for councils to either withdraw any current proposed plan changes or apply for an exemption to continue working on a plan change. Plan change 6A is the plan change to rezone land near Lake Horowhenua Punahou off Ryder Crescent, Kawea Road and Barry Curtis Place to residential. The plan change relates to one of our council's 6 priority sites for rezoning, and council officers collaborated with the applicants on the development of the application. The plan change application was made by Kāinga Ora and 3 other landowners on the 8th of October 2024. Plan change 6A was adopted by council on the 30th of October 2024. The initial round of submissions closed on the 14th of May 2025 and 72 submissions were received. Further submissions closed on the 15th of August 2025 with 16 further submissions received. The last remaining steps in the process would be to complete the hearings reports and to hold the hearing. We are seeking your approval today to apply to the Ministry for the Environment to allow work on Plan Change 6A to continue, with delegation to the Chief Executive to sign off and submit the exemption application to the Ministry. If the exemption is approved, we anticipate that a hearing would be able to be held by the end of the first quarter of 2026. If not approved, then we would need to withdraw the plan change, so it would stop completely. All current submitters and further submitters would lose their standing in the process. If council were to restart the process in the future, we would need to wait until January 2028, so that we would be outside of the mandated plan stop period. We would also need to start the plan change process again, so we would essentially lose the progress made, as well as having the 2-year wait to restart. A new process would see new rounds of submissions and further submissions before an outcome on the zoning change would result, and this would result in at least 2 years of uncertainty over the outcome for landowners and current submitters. As plan changes usually take many months and sometimes years, this added time would also flow through to the timing of residential land being made available to the market. The deadline for making the application is 15th of January 2026. However, there are a number of reasons for getting any application in as soon as possible. We would like to aim for the beginning of November. We are conscious that there are likely to be a number of applications made by various councils, so we'd like to be ahead of the curve. We have heard anecdotally that all of the Horizons councils are likely to make applications under the Plan Stop exemption pathway, though many of these will be for new plan changes that were already in the works but not notified before the directive came. For these reasons, we're seeking your approval now to apply for an exemption to Plan Stop. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Lisa? That's all right.
just more of a clarification. Just on that discussion point 10, so it says 90 working days from the 21st of August. So we have until the 15th of January. Are those dates right?
Yes, there is a statutory stop for working days between the 20th of December and 10th of January, so it may look like it's flying out a little. And also Labour Day will be excluded, so that's why we get to the 15th of January.
That's all good. I just don't.
I'm glad someone else knows that as well.
No, it's good. Hey, look, and other than that, it's a great report, and yeah, it makes sense. So, well done.
Councillor Jennings.
Could you just confirm for me, because there's obviously a lot of discussion around this particular development in the community, or this plan change. Can you just confirm for me that this development area, or proposed development area, has been signalled for rezoning, for growth, for development since early 2008 was the first signalling that this area was going to be rezoned. So there was essentially a legitimate expectation, or an expectation of those property owners, that there would be some changing that there would be a plan change covering this area.
Yes, so the site appeared in the 2008. It was the predecessor to the growth strategy, which was called the Horowhenua Development Plan, and then the site was rezoned. The rezoning started in 2013 and became operative in 2014, so it's been deferred residential now for over 10 years.
Lisa, Kaienga Ora's view on us making this submission?
I've spoken with Kaienga Ora and they're supportive of an application being made, yes.
Right, okay. Are they still in a position to be able to support the development? I mean, who knows what the landscape is for them in the future as well.
At this stage, we would proceed as if they are, but there are 3 other landowners in the mix as well. So if Kaienga Ora was out for any reason, the other 3 would still be able to proceed.
Oh, thank you. Nothing further? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, David. Oh, sorry, Councillor Grims.
Just inviting comment, and I don't need a particular figure, but from a community perspective, what word would you use to describe the cost to council that it's already invested or put towards progressing the plan change to get to this point?
So I guess our external contractor costs have been relatively low because the application was made as a private plan change. Kaienga Ora and the other landowners have shouldered the financial burden there, but there has been a significant staff time cost. Yeah, we did actually have a tally up of the hours spent, in our best estimate, somewhere in the order of 300 staff hours to date.
And just for clarity, that would mean that if this wasn't approved and we did have to stop, that 300 hours we've already invested in staff time to progress this would have to start from hour 0 and potentially then not be a private arrangement. It would have to be a council-led arrangement for a plan change to restart at that point.
I would think probably work on maybe 75% of the time spent wouldn't be able to be reused. There would be a portion which probably isn't going to change completely over the next 2 years that you'll be able to pick up, but there'll be new provisions and obviously a new set of framework that we'll be operating under in that period of time. So a lot of the time spent today would be a sunk cost.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, David. Okay, the recommendations C is that Council agrees to apply for a ministerial exemption to the plan stock provisions for proposed plan change 6A, and D, that Council delegates the preparation and approval of the application and supporting material to the Chief Executive. Moved by Councillor Olsen, seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. Any further discussion or debate? Deputy Mayor Allen.
Or just to say, Mr. Mayor, it's too important not to do so. The ability to realise 500 or so extra houses in a district that definitely needs them. Important that we act now, because as the report identifies the time frame, the risk of being part of a bottleneck prior to the 15th of January is too great a risk to apply later. I find it weird that when both the government and our council desperately want more housing, that we should be in this position where we actually have to apply to create more housing. And the final point I made is, and it follows up from Councillor Grimstone's question, we're nearly there. You know, of course a hearing may take considerable time. We don't know the length of a piece of string in that regard, but we've done all the mahi up until this stage, and to not act now I think would be negligent in terms of our community's needs.
Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, just quickly for me, I'd probably echo a lot of David as stipulated. I guess just touching on Sam's point there, you know, this has been signalled for some time. Housing is obviously very, very key for our community, and also I'm very mindful of obviously the work and the expense we've borne as a council to get to this point. So it makes total sense obviously to support it moving forward.
But Tommy Hunter.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I probably take the opposite opinion, actually. I won't be supporting the motion. I think there's no reason why this matter couldn't lay on the table, actually, for the incoming council to disclose and discuss. It's not urgent right now. I hear your sense of urgency of getting this in front of the right parties, but I don't like being rushed into something that I don't understand properly. The fact that KO don't actually know their future, but there are 3 other landowners that certainly have invested time and are looking for aspirations to develop their property. Again, I just don't get the sense of the urgency, so I won't be supporting the motion in its current form.
Okay, so the recommendations are on the table. I'll put those recommendations. C, call for a division. All right, Deputy Mayor Allen.
In favour.
Councillor Barker.
Oh, yes.
Councillor Boyle.
No, against.
Against, thank you. Councillor Brannigan.
For.
Councillor Grimstone. Councillor Hori Tapar.
For.
Councillor Jennings.
For.
Councillor Olsen. Councillor Tamihana.
Against.
I am for, and Councillor Young.
I am for.
Thank you. So the motion is carried. Thank you. Right, moving to 7.3, the appointment of commissioners for the District Licensing Committee. And Vi is joining us at the table. Just move recommendation A that the report be received. Moved, seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Vi.
Kia ora, Your Worship and Councillors. So this report seeks Council's approval to appoint commissioners to the District Licensing Committee. This is necessary to ensure the alcohol licensing activity can continue to function effectively through the election period. I do note that there is a small error, an error in the report. Paragraph 5 of the report refers to Councillor Jennings. This should read Councillor Justin Tamihana. Aroha mai, councillors. The executive summary and the recommendations are correct. As outlined in the report, Councillors Ross Brannigan and Justin Tamihana are proposed to be appointed as commissioners until the 28th of February 2026, or until such time as we come back to council and appointments are confirmed following the local elections. It's an administrative step, as I said earlier, necessary to ensure that alcohol licensing activity can continue to function effectively during this period. Open to questions.
Have we checked with the two people that they're willing to accept the role?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Jennings, do you?
Be very happy to move.
Happy to move. Yeah. All right. Seconded by Councillor Young. Thank you. All right. Anyone wish to speak to this? In that case, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And thank you to the two appointees who are willing to carry that role until the end of February. Appreciate it. Okay, moving now to 7.4, which is the delegations to the Chief Executive during the election period and discharging of committees. And I'll see Grayson is at the table, but just moving that the report be received. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Grayson.
Through you, Your Worship, this report requests Council to give the Chief Executive delegations during the period through which Council is not able to make any decisions. This is from the time of the return of the official results through to the swearing in of the new Council. The new Council can't make any decisions until it's sworn in, and the old Council ceases to have the ability to make decisions once the official results come in. So this is a purely procedural matter. The Chief Executive cannot make any decisions that are part of the exclusions, such as striking a rate, appointing a new Chief Executive, and so on. This is just to ensure the continuity of function of Council during that period. I'm happy to take any questions.
Appear to be none. Thank you, Grayson. So we have recommendation B that's subject to the limitations set out in clause 32.1 of the 7th schedule of the Local Government Act 2002. The Council delegates all of its responsibilities, duties and powers to the Chief Executive for the period from the day after the declaration of the election results until the swearing in of the new Council, subject to a requirement that the Chief Executive may only exercise this delegation after the following. B1, consultation with the person elected to the position of Mayor. B2, may only attend to those matters that cannot reasonably wait until the first meeting of the new Council. And B3, shall be reported to the first meeting of the new Council. Moved by Councillor Olsen, seconded by Councillor Grimstone. Any further discussion? Put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, so we now move to 8.1, which is the proceedings of the Community Funding and Recognition Committee of 17th September 2025. And the recommendation is that the report and the minutes be received and noted. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Allen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. And 8.2. The proceedings of the Risk and Insurance Committee from the 1st of October 2025. The recommendation is that these minutes be received and noted. Moved by Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Olsen. Put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. That is great timing. We now can have a 5-minute or so break until audit are due to appear at midday, and from what I understand, that is still the plan. So we'll just take a 5-minute break until they get here, which will be by Zoom.
Mr Mayor,
can I just suggest that members particularly just take note of 5.1 in the risk and assurance minutes, just ahead of the consideration of the annual report item. It just might provide some helpful context. So that was on page
Right. Page 281.
281. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we will adjourn until audit are ready to join us. Hi, Debbie and Victoria. It's Bernie here, Mayor Bernie. Just wondering if you can hear us okay?
Perfect. I can hear you beautifully well.
Thank you very much and welcome. Nice to be back with you all. Pretty much our final business of the term will be the adoption of our annual report, and I will now hand over to the team to introduce it. Thank you, Jacinta.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. So we're here today to adopt the annual report for the financial year ending 2024-25. Audit New Zealand have been working closely with us, and there are two members from Audit New Zealand that are online today to speak to you in a moment. They have been working really hard, and we thank the hard work that the team have done to collegially work with us to adopt the annual report. I know you think, why did we wait a little while? Well, there are a lot of annual reports that the team at Audit New Zealand have committed to on behalf of councils so that we can adopt our annual report in advance of the training and finishing. So that's a key reason why there's been a lot of pressure around completing this on time. So thanks to you, Audit New Zealand, for completing that on time. Audit New Zealand have now advised us that the audit opinion is with us. That is being presented and printed at the moment, and it will be with you shortly. Just wanted to start by saying, we've been through the presentation of the results a couple of times for the public. We presented the results for this financial year as part of the OPR report that was presented, and also on the 1st of October, the Risk and Assurance Committee has gone through and endorsed this annual report to come through to you today. There have been some changes, mostly from a disclosure perspective, that have occurred since the agenda went out. That's been described largely in the paper that you received. But Debbie may wish to speak to a couple of those as you get to that point today as well. A couple of quick highlights, and then I'll pass over to Debbie. One being that it was a challenging financial year. We set ourselves a significant target in terms of savings in the realm of 300 to 500,000 from an operational perspective. We've successfully achieved 800,000, so that was a good result for us in terms of not spending money when we didn't need to. As well, we completed $32 million in terms of our capital program, which was a good success for us and was in line with the levels that we forecast for our capital program. And lastly, in terms of our borrowings, we landed at approximately 174 million in terms of a net debt position, which represents approximately 199% of our target in terms of debt to operating income. In terms of our limit in our financial strategy, that said, it sits at 250%. So just confirming that we are still well within our limit. While we are still planning to make some significant investments in terms of infrastructure in the next couple of years, we are still well in line to achieve our financial strategy of being below that, but also to achieving a balanced budget by 27-28. So those are some of the highlights. And with that, I'd like to hand over to our Audit Director, Debbie Bradfield, who will talk you through the audit work that has been completed.
Kia ora, everybody. Thank you for being patient with us today, and sorry for being a few minutes late. It's been a challenging audit in the sense that it has occurred a lot earlier than we would expect. So a lot of work has gone behind the scenes with the finance team as well as with audit team, working through endless nights to get to this point. I think we're all quite pleased with where we've landed. In terms of the audit report is similar to the prior year. We have an unmodified audit report on your financial performance as well as your performance information. The only item that has been highlighted in the audit report relates to disclosure relating to Waters Done Well. Besides that, there is nothing different in the audit report in terms of the prior year. And that's exactly where we're standing at this point in time. Is there any questions in terms of the audit report?
Councillor Jennings.
Hi, Debbie. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that the emphasis of matter, that is likely to be something that's put on any audit report for any council that is considering an external organisation, water services organisation. So this isn't unique to Horowhenua District Council.
You're 100% correct. It's not unique to Horowhenua. It's basically unique to anybody that's included that disclosure or decided to party up with another entity, and it's just highlighting what is happening in that space. Basically, it's just highlighting to the readers, and it just links, as you'll notice from the audit report, it just links directly back to the disclosure that's already been included in the financial statements. It's nothing unique.
Thank you.
Any further questions for audit? Or maybe even Jacinda or the team as well.
Would you take
Have you finished, Jacinda, or anything else you want to add?
Would you take a comment?
Yes, certainly.
Just to reiterate again, and I'm sure you'll do this, Mr. Mayor, but I'm going to jump in before you, just to say thank you again to both our team and the audit team for the huge amount of work that has gone into the annual report process. I don't think that people probably out there in the public would truly understand the amount of effort and time and the way in which these things are iterative in terms of information going back and forth and that really important relationship between the auditor and our internal team. So just a big thanks on behalf of myself and the public for all of the hard work and effort and long nights as well. So thank you very much, and thanks to you, Debbie, and your team for your efforts.
Thank you very much.
Look, can I just endorse those comments by Councillor Jennings? It is I know one of those sort of things that we're damned if we do and damned if we don't do it properly, and how sort of stressful I know the whole process can be on both sides. And it's always a challenging environment in local government to be able to sort of ensure that we are being upfront and honest and open and transparent with our community in terms of what has gone on. I think the fact that we are in a position before the end of the term to actually sign and adopt this annual report speaks very much to the work that has gone on from all sides in terms of being able to be here today to do it. And I know that this will actually provide a fantastic foundation for whoever is sitting around this table in a couple of weeks' time to be able to move ahead from this foundation that we've got today. And I just want to acknowledge you all and the part that you have played in getting us to this today. I know I've been here around this table where we've adopted annual reports in May of the following year. To be able to sign this off today, I think, is a credit to you all. And I know, as I said, how stressful and challenging that can be, but just want to acknowledge the work that's gone into it. And I know it's very much a team effort, that many of you have had sleepless nights and worked unstintingly in trying to make sure that we are in a position to be able to do this today. So I do acknowledge and thank you all for that. Thank you. So thank you, Debbie. I'm sure we've learnt lots in this process, and we'll move ahead in the whoever is in the table, but the team will have a lot greater understanding of the relationship in terms of how we all work together, and we're all here for the best interests of our communities. So thank you for your part in playing in that as well.
Thank you.
So with that, are there any further questions of the report? Okay, so I just move recommendation A and B that the adoption of annual report be received, and that we receive the annual report. Seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so we now have recommendation C, that Council receives the audit opinion as presented to Council at this meeting from Audit New Zealand for Horowhenua District Council's financial statements and performance information for the year ended 30th of June 2025. Moved by Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Brannigan. Any commentary or discussion on that? If not, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Fantastic. And that's recommendation D, that Council adopts the annual report 24-25 in accordance with section 98 of the Local Government Act 2002.
Do you want to bundle in E and F as well?
I was going to do those after we've adopted the report before. I'm happy to move, seconded by Councillor Olsen. I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much. And then recommendations E and F, that the Chief Executive be authorised to amend the final annual report with editorial amendments required or to reflect changes requested by audit after the date of adoption of the report, and to insert the audit opinion. And E, that the Mayor and Chief Executive be authorised to sign the annual report on behalf of Council, and that the Mayor, Chief Executive and Group Manager Organisation Performance be authorised to sign the letter of representation which will be received subsequent to this meeting, addressed to the Council's auditors for the year ended 30 June 2025. Moved by Councillor Jennings, seconded by Councillor Grimstone. Any further discussion? Put that recommendation. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Fantastic. Thank you very much. All. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Wikitoria. Sorry, my apologies. May you enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully it's a bit more relaxing than the last few weeks have been. All right. That brings us to the end of our... Sorry. Yes, we've done everything else. Yes. Look at that. All right, everyone. That is now coming to our time for farewell and valedictories. And we're going to begin with the Foxton Community Board. And I'm just going to invite the Deputy Mayor to maybe say a few words on behalf of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, and it's been my privilege to be the liaison councillor for the Foxton Community Board over the last 3 years. And I want to take the opportunity today to acknowledge both John Girling and Nola Fox, who will be stepping down from that position. Before I do so, could I also acknowledge Trevor Chambers, who's here, and Sarah. Lovely to see you here too, Sarah. But the focus, with your forgiveness, will really be on John and Nola, because they are standing down from the board. And look, I just want to acknowledge publicly that both of you have been deeply connected to Foxton, not just through the community board, but through the many other voluntary activities that you take part of in our community. And I sincerely mean that. If you enumerate them, they are many and significant. I also want to acknowledge that both of you have understood the role of the board, that you've seen it, that you have demonstrated through your words that it's about reasoned and responsible advocacy for the board. So not just for the community board area, rather. So it's not just about advocating, but it's about being reasoned and reasonable in the advocacy that you give to council. John, you through us as the chair, and Nola, the particular expertise you bring in a number of areas, but I think particularly about the close eye you've kept on the Foxton Beach Endowment Fund account, for example. When I think about the highlights over the last 3 years, the one that stands out for me is the policy review for the Foxton Beach Endowment Fund, the work that the board did there along with other partners, council representation, and of course the very valuable work from Hapu in the person of Hayden. But I think that was a major piece of work, and what we've ended up with, and very much driven by the board as well, is a bigger and broader and better policy. And the magic thing is about bringing the voice of Hapu, or more specifically the voice of Papanau J Block descendants into the formation of that policy. I note that both of you aspire to a continued role in local government, John through standing for Horizons and Nola standing for Kitty Kitty Ward, and I wish you both the best in those endeavours coming up. Both of you have a genuine desire to serve. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. Your desire to serve your community, as you've already done, as I said at the start of this, as you've already done in the networking that you've undertaken with the communities. So both of you, thank you for all that you've done and all that I know you will be doing in the future. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, David. Now, we do have a little presentation to make to each of you, but before we do so, you're both welcome to come and join us at the table and say a few words if you wish.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, council staff. I can just say it's been a privilege to serve, and whether I'm elected or not, I will continue to serve the communities. And if I'm not at the table, I will be hounding you about environmental matters for Foxton Beach. So thank you.
I would like to express my gratitude to the Mayor, to the councillors and to the staff for this wonderful service we've been able to get in my last 9 years on the board and the last 3 years as chair. I'm grateful for that because we've been able to get a lot of things done. We've worked together, we've understood each other, we haven't fought, which is quite interesting, and we have achieved a lot. The thing I'm proudest of, funnily enough, is the Foxton Flood Resilience Governance Group, where we've been able to sit down with HDC, HRC and the Community Board and get a central government funded task done on time, under budget. And I think that is one of the reasons I'm standing for Horizons, because I want to try and bring the two councils closer together so that we achieve more for our area and we're more successful. So on that happy note, thank you very much.
Can I just endorse the words of David in terms of the contribution that you both have made to the community board, but also the wider Foxton community and beach community. Look, it is, I know in small communities like the village of Foxton that it needs people like yourselves who want to stand up and be counted and to contribute to that. I can remember in the representation review that we had a few years ago, I pretty much challenged the community board to be relevant and to actually do stuff and contribute to the wellbeing of Foxton. And I think both of you have demonstrated that very, very well. And I want to acknowledge the contribution that you've made, as well as Trevor and the others from the board. And just to acknowledge the Deputy Mayor and the role that he has played in that. So if you would both like to come forward, we have a small presentation to make to both of you. And David, would you please join me? So you see this, Nola, is a representation of one of the panels that are in these
stained glass windows that we have here, which I think is very fitting, that this, for you, includes some of the environmental things that, Water Hills and the foliage that is around Foxton and the neighbourhoods. So congratulations and thank you. Right. Yes.
Environmentalist, there you go. There's your tree.
But it's genetically altered, it's dragging to gold, it's not a real one.
John? Thank you. Thank you. And look, this I think is a fitting representation of Foxton for you. As we drive down that main street and see that and look up to it every day, I'm sure you will look up and reflect on the, the contribution that you've made to Foxton. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Very much.
Thanks.
Do you want to pose? Do a pose?
Yes. Pose.
Favourite thing? Yeah.
David, come here.
I'm laughing so much, the palm's shaking, it'll ruin the photo.
Stunning.
Cool.
Okay, so we're now going to move into councillors that are retiring, if that's the right word. And I've just been told that Councillor Proctor has managed to join us, and that will save us reading his commentary. Welcome, John, and I'll hand things over to you.
Can you hear me? And
We
is
can,
everything
yes, loud and clear.
okay? Is my camera on? Because I can't
Yes,
see.
yeah, we can see you as well.
Okay, well, I'm doing this on my phone, so hopefully it all works okay. So
Yep.
you just want me to kick off?
You can, yes, please.
Okay, so yeah, I'm retiring as a councillor and will now just continue life as a professor at a university. So in terms of my final words, as I leave into the sunrise down State Highway 57 at a brisk 100 kilometres an hour, I gaze out at the vast, productive agricultural land that feeds our region's economy. It's a sight that makes you proud to have played a small part in supporting our region's food producers, helping them stay on their land and continue to operate, thanks to a bit of stability and the adoption of sensible rating models and early and out term. Yes, even though we introduced some hefty rate rises, I believe we did so responsibly, with good governance and a steady hand. Early in the term, I feel I also managed a few small victories, like nudging some of our more entrenched council curmudgeons out of the weeds and into the fast lane of decision making. I quickly also learned that preparation and a strategic use of wit and sarcasm helped push things along a little bit as well. I also think I contributed to making our district more resilient to natural hazards and climate change. Personally, I think I evolved too, from crawling along at 80 kilometres an hour on State Highway 57 in a diesel guzzling 4x4 to zipping along at 100 kilometres an hour in a hybrid. Sadly, the upgrade didn't improve my punctuality. Meetings still started without me, but at least I arrived with a smaller carbon footprint. I want to say a huge thank you to the HDC staff and leadership team. Your dedication to building a vibrant, livable and growing district was inspiring. Your ability to solve complex financial and planning puzzles was nothing short of wizardry. I've spent countless hours telling our community how lucky we are to have all the staff that work for HDC. I'll miss the 200-slide engineering presentations and options, the disappointing news of ever-rising costs of keeping our district afloat, and the complex financial rating models that deepen my personal dislike for Excel. To the Democracy team, thank you for making it possible to zoom into meetings from overseas, mid-flight, or while driving 80 kilometres an hour. Your tech wizardry made council life smooth and an enjoyable exercise wading through hundreds of pages of documents or watching 292 minutes of submission videos. To the CEO, working with you gave me a whole new appreciation for the balancing act that is council leadership. I'll miss your clarity, your calm, and your uncanny ability to herd councillors along like cats with some very sharp and determined looks during meetings. To my fellow councillors, it's been a genuine pleasure. Your diverse views and experiences helped us navigate some wild ideological terrain. Despite the occasional detour into the far right or far left wilderness, we stayed focused on what mattered, delivering for our communities and keeping Horowhenua a fantastic place to live. May the new council keep the same focus. I also had some personal goals that didn't come to fruition during my time, like connecting our remote rural communities. Hokio Beach Road, for instance, deserves more than a muddy berm and a reputation as a dumping ground. I hope the new council doesn't forget about Hokio. And if in the coming years I'm still trudging through knee-high grass and mud to deliver submissions at council for a simple gravel path, I'll become more annoying than ever. I've truly enjoyed my time on council, and in the words of one of the world's most famous politicians, I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I appreciate the effort that you've gone to be with us today. I think it's really appropriate that you are speaking to us from afar, because that's probably where you've spent a good part of the last 3 years, is being on planes and going around the world lecturing and being, doing what you do, which I think is a magnificent contribution to what goes on in the world. But I just want to acknowledge the work that you have done in contributing to this 3 years. I know you felt you were slightly more than pressured into taking on this role at the time, but I think what we've seen, you've contributed quite a big deal to that, and I think your wit and the ability to be able to articulate different things. I'm really surprised that you managed to get through 292 minutes of long-term plan submissions, and I think that speaks volumes for the way that you actually do approach the role and wanted to do it properly and seriously. So I hope too that whoever is sitting around this table, when you come to present and ask for an upgrade of the Hokio Beach pathways and the weeds that are growing down there, that you will pay, give council a good going for its money, and I'm sure you will continue to advocate for the people in both Hokio and the surrounding rural communities. So go well. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I better rush off and give my lecture now. Thanks.
Cheers. All right. Can I now invite Councillor Boyle to say a few words?
You sure can. So 3 years has gone by. It feels like it's been a lifetime of meetings, endless reading, and moments that have really tested every ounce of patience that I've had. When I came to this role, I had hope. I had hope that local government could be a place where real change happens, where the community voice leads us in a direction. I still believe that, but I've also learned how slow and stubborn and self-protective both the system and the people within it can be. But I'm still proud of what we've achieved, personally and collectively, and I'll start with that. I'm proud that we finally managed to close the landfill and to have fought for us to choose the best environmental options to try clean up that horrific mess. It's not a cheap or glamorous project that we're doing, but it's how we fix the wrongs of the past and stop pretending that the damage doesn't exist. I'm proud to have brought the iwi first right of refusal policy to the table and to have had 2 fun years of battling and stalling and resistance to see it through. That policy was later championed by another young elected member in Wellington City Council, and it passed down there. So we've had a little small ripple from our move. I'm proud of the multi-engagement framework that we got across the line. It's a foundation, it's a start, and a move towards genuine partnership rather than token consultation. I'm proud we took a stand on gender-neutral toilets, even if that was a decision that was weaponized by some to spread hate and fear. Standing up for inclusivity isn't always popular in the current political climate, but it's the right thing to do. I'm really proud that we now have a climate change strategy and a budget to go along with it, and that we have tools to measure our impact. It's modest, small steps, but it's a start. We've been trialling composting, and much to the dismay of some people around the table, we've kept recycling, even if it costs more. Minimising waste isn't optional. It's an essential thing for humanity if we want to keep existing on this planet. I've had the privilege of working alongside a number of community groups and projects as well, and that's where the real difference is made. Those people, not politicians, are the ones holding our society together. I'm also proud to have shifted some of the perceptions around who can be a councillor, and to have shown that authenticity and blunt honesty still have a place in this chamber. Even with the end of my term looking different than I'd hoped, I've kept showing up, and as a remote councillor, I've still managed a better in-person attendance record than some. And I know the impact that I've had and the value that I've brought have justified my presence here. I've stayed true to myself and my values, and I've helped shine a light on the dirty, dodgy left behinds from previous councils. That rod of corruption and secrecy, it's not gone, but it's not hiding anymore. But I'd be lying to say if I wasn't sad or angry about a few things. I'm sad that while we've made progress in some areas, we've stayed silent where it mattered most. We've stayed silent while the government actively hurts people and the planet for profit, dismantling protection, subsidising the rich, attacking iwi, supporting a genocide and fast-tracking the sale of our collective future. Our refusal to submit on damaging bills, especially those undermining Te Tiriti, was a moral failure, and the silence in the face of injustice is just complicity. I'm sad that even with all the passion and ideas in the world, the system isn't built to scale the change we need. Even if all of you agreed with me, the red tape and the endless consultation cycles and fear of legal challenges would stop us from getting done what must be done. Because the truth is, late-stage capitalism and colonialism are winning. Inequality is growing, technology is eroding humanity, we're watching the social fabric just tear apart, and we're pretending our small policy tweaks will fix it. Things are only getting worse, and maybe they have to before they can get better. There's really no peaceful transition to justice under a system built on exploitation. Downfall comes first, the revolution follows. Personally, it's been hard, it's been challenging. Constantly having to justify my presence at the table has felt pretty weird, but heck, I can only imagine how it's felt for our Māori ward councillors. To the staff, especially Monique, thank you. You guys are the engine that keeps this place running. Your professionalism and kindness and quiet endurance are really the only reason council functions at all. To my fellow councillors, I do believe genuinely that all of you think you're doing good work here, even if I disagree with some of you sometimes. And to the people of Whenua, thanks for trusting me to be your voice. It's been an honour to serve, to challenge and to speak the truth, even when the truth was uncomfortable. I would have liked to do more of it in person, but the world had other plans, and given some of the opinions around this table, I don't think me sitting in that room would have changed anything. Before I go, I'll say this. Democracy only works when we make noise, when we demand better, and when we refuse to be quiet in the face of injustice. It's been real, it's been tough, and it's been worth it. You won't be seeing me sitting on this side of the table again anytime soon. I hope maybe someday I'll come back and the young councillors will say that I'm the old one who isn't woke and progressive enough. That's me. Peace.
Thank you, Reagan. Appreciate those comments. And, you know, while we could probably talk a lot about different ideologies and different views and opinions, I think that's one of the strengths of local government is the fact that those views and opinions can be expressed around a table. And I hope that you've reflected well on the opportunity of being able to do that. I know things in life don't go according to plan sometimes, and look, we have had our differences in terms of things that have gone on and stuff, but thank you for the contribution that you have made to the council, and I think you can reflect positively on some of the things that you mentioned during that speech, and I wish you well and continued good space, whatever you do into the future. So thank you. Okay, all right. Our last retiring member is Councillor Brannigan, who is here. So over to you, Ross.
Thank you, Bernie. As we've been building up to this meeting, this last term over a few weeks, I've sort of been a time of reflection, and found myself reflecting deeply on, again, my 12 years on my service as part of this council. I'm actually still not quite sure how I even got here. I never intended to be a politician or in local government politics in any way, but here we are 12 years later. It's been an interesting ride, that is for sure. I still recall sometime after the election in 2013 when myself and then Community Board Chair Janine Smart, attended a meeting after being summoned by Brendan Duffy and C. David Clapperton. They posed us this question, and it was Main Street upgrade, Te Awamutu Newstrom, which didn't have a name then, it was a community centre, or Main Street upgrade. We would be given the option. Our reply was both. Our view, and I think the view of Foxton, was that one couldn't go without the other. To look back just these 12 years or 10 years later, to see those two pieces of infrastructure, while they're very, very different to each other, they transformed that town. They transformed that town, provided opportunity for development and for opportunity for our people in that community. I see the same happening now with the Live in Town Centre project, so absolutely stay on course with that. We also look back with a degree of satisfaction at the Community Board Initiative, that first term, which saw the board with the support of council, put aside $1 million to be spent on the reserves at Foxton Beach. Out of that was born the idea of the pump track, the Foxton Beach pump track, and the wider development of the Holborn Reserve. To see the end result of that over these years, and what's that provided to our young people, to our community, and what it's attracted to visitors, etc. It's been amazing, and it's every time we drive past here or go past, particularly weekends, evenings in the summer, the people enjoying that space is a credit to all, and it's just a reflection of satisfaction where that idea was born to do something with our reserves. We didn't know what we're going to do with that $1 million, but we wanted to put the money to good use for our community, and that was a great outcome. We've seen similar outcomes here in the Vin with the splash pad. Together, both those are relatively small investments in terms of what council quite often invests in, but the lasting benefits and outcomes of those little pieces of infrastructure and recreational space goes on for a long, long time, and we should all take a lot of satisfaction with that. I've also found myself reflecting on the growth journey we embarked on those years ago, where Tarahika was born, along with the proposed O2NL highway. The big question asked at the time is, I recall it deeply, if this council had an appetite for growth, and the challenges and opportunities it would bring, because we were warned there will be challenges, but there will be massive opportunities. Thankfully, we did have that appetite, and today we see the exciting. It was an exciting conversation at the time, but that is no truer than today. We well know the challenges, but we also should know and can see the opportunities that growth has and will continue to bring. There was no growth in Horowhenua at that time. Again, it was an exciting but somewhat scary proposal to be involved in. Despite the challenges, I know we're back to winner, and again, my simple message is to stay on course. To see after that time, O2NL now, diggers in the ground, work happening out there. Seems a long time ago when we first started talking about it, but it's happening, and it's fantastic to see. Has there been frustrations? Of course there has, many. But for me, the biggest of these remains our decision around the Live in landfill, not the old dump, the landfill. Do I think we made the right decision for our district? No, I don't. I think we made a decision based on ideology and emotion, and I think it could have been and should have been a different decision that would ultimately provide a better outcome for all. To see 2 years after the closure, where we are now still not much further along with the BPO for the old dump, and still debating sites with the PMG, is extremely frustrating, and the bills keep rolling in. During my time on council, I've served under 3 mayors, all with their different strengths. Brendan Duffy, I enjoyed my time with Brendan as mayor. He held his own. He had his own way of doing things, but had a clear passion for living in the Horowhenua. And I think we all learned a lot from Brendan, I know I did. Next term, we had Mayor Michael Fayan. Well, what a ride that was. Again, reflecting on this period, was the first time we had seen the manipulation of social media to build a narrative which many people actually bought into, and included what we see on a far bigger stage in the US today, with the continual spreading of mis and disinformation via social media. The media at the time, not you, Paul, you are okay. You are okay. The media at the time labelled the council as chaotic and dysfunctional. The reality was that couldn't have been further from the truth. The reality was that Mayor Fayan and his sidekick were out singing melodies and telling stories to anyone that would listen. The rest of us, the nasty nine as we were called, and called by some, got on with governing. We had to become aligned in our thinking and decision making, and collectively got on with running the council and district, putting out many fires along the way. Ultimately, the mayor became a lame duck, although the sideshow continued. As the saying goes, out of adversity comes strength. That is exactly what happened. In some bizarre way, I actually take a lot of satisfaction from that term, because it was a council of a high degree of different views, but collectively we came together as we had to continue running the district. A challenging time, but again, I look back with a degree of fondness, for some bizarre reason. Lastly, Mayor Bernie. Bernie, you brought decorum, dignity and integrity back to the council with the mayoral chair, and the leader that the council and district needed at that time. Well, I have to say, you destroyed our ratings. The gallery was no longer full. We no longer had 100 or 1,000 people watching online. We got back to being a council. I remember being told by a number of people that council has got boring again. My reply was boring was good. Bernie, we've worked incredibly hard for our district and its mayor, and I've very much enjoyed working with you under your leadership, and all the very, very, very best for your future. To Meek and your team, that's including all of your people behind all over the Emily, all of the people in this room, a very big thank you from me. It's been fantastic as an elected member to know the quality of, and it's been touched on today by speakers, the quality of information that comes through into this council table, led by the good people in this organisation that do the leading, has been first class, and I've never had cause to complain about any of that. To the democracy team, Ashley, Grayson and Alice, thank you so much. You guys always fly under the radar, but I know every one of us around this table appreciates everything that you do to support us. Must be like herding bloody cats at times, but you guys are the glue that makes everything work, and your efforts are always appreciated, although I will not miss the 1,000 page agendas. Thanks, Grace. Yeah, probably will. Yeah. I've got a delete button, mate. Monique, I recall the CEO appointment process in 2022. You read the room perfectly at that time. Your 100-day plan was exactly what we were needing to see, and ultimately you were appointed and we're coming home. I suspect, though, the 100-day plan in some respects had to turn into a 1,000-day plan. Your passion for this district and this organisation is absolutely plain to see, and we are lucky to have you leading the organisation. I will remind you, though, that Levin was struck by a tornado soon after you took up your role. I think it's fair to say some of your staff will say that tornado never left. It's still here. All I can say is thank you. We all see how you work so incredibly hard and the leadership you show every day in steering the work of this organisation. To my man across the room, Mayor Allen, David, it's been an absolute pleasure working alongside you for the past 2 terms, and even times between that. It's interesting, we can sometimes have very different political views and even opinions around this table on matters, but the respect and goodwill we've had for each other has been an example I think that should be followed by all. Really enjoyed working with you and making our views so clear in terms of our expectations, aspirations for the Kerikeri ward, and I hope that can continue next term among our representatives. The only regret I have, mate, is that I won't get to beat you by a landslide again in this election. To all the councillors around the table, thank you also. It has been a challenging term in many respects. Sometimes I've got a bit grumpy, but I always have had the respect for the wide views around the table. I wish you all the best for the coming elections and still watch, and will watch with interest. Sam, miss you, Sam. Sam got around the table a few years ago. There's a few rough edges need to be smoothed off. There's probably still a couple needs to be smoothed off, Sam. But your work as the risk insurance is just so reassuring for this council, and thank you for your work around that, and all the best for your future. The mayor in waiting. I'll be your campaign manager 2028. Thanks. Finally, to the people of the Kerikeri ward, I've also always been humbled by being elected to represent our area 4 times. I've never taken that for granted. I believe I've worked hard and represented and advocated for our communities and the wider district the best I could at all times. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. As will be known, I'm standing for the Te Awamutu Foxton Community Board in this election, and if elected, we'll continue to work hard for Foxton and the beach at that level. If the voters call time on that, and I take nothing for granted, I will accept that and go fishing. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Allen, I'll let you speak first. Yes, definitely.
Thank you. And look, I do need to take the opportunity to say a few words directly to Ross and about Ross. Quite frankly, Ross, you have been an outstanding representative for the Kerikeri ward. You have deep connections to our communities within the ward, and particularly but not exclusively to Foxton Beach. I want to acknowledge your moral compass. It's always been about doing the right thing for you, as guided by your values. And as you've said just before, we have disagreed on some quite fundamental issues from time to time, as the voting record will show from council meetings. But I've never ever doubted that your decisions were reached with your logic and your integrity. But above all, Ross, I want to thank you for being such an outstanding colleague, someone I could trust totally and know that your word was your bond. And in thanking you, could I also acknowledge Linda and the rest of your family? And it's lovely to see you, Linda, and Leah here today too. It's great that you could come along. I know that your family means everything to you, Ross, and I know that they've been so important in supporting you and managing the very big business that you are growing, while at the same time serving on council. It's always been about Team Brannigan. So, Ross, thank you again, and again, it's with great gratitude that I acknowledge our friendship and our collegiality around the council table, the ability to disagree so fundamentally at times, but still to share a smile is something very precious. Go well, and never doubt the difference you made to our district.
And can I endorse those remarks from David Ross? Look, it is sort of almost the end of an era in some ways. It's virtually the last sort of surviving member from 2013 to have given 12 years of your life to dedicate to this community needs to be acknowledged in many, many ways, more than a few words like we are doing now. Can I also acknowledge Linda, Leah, and I know Jamie's not here, but your wider family. It's, as you say, it's been an interesting and eventful ride, but you should be immensely proud of the legacy that you've left behind. And I know how much Foxton and Foxton Beach means to you. And I didn't understand that for a long time, but the passion and enthusiasm that you have for that community was demonstrated many, many times. I did take a while to accept that it was the jewel of the district, and as you kept reminding me, but it's been a pleasure to work alongside you, both as a colleague and as a friend. And I still remember fondly that beer we shared on your deck a few years ago. That there is no doubt that your community is much better off with you having been part of it for that many, many years. I've always enjoyed your pragmatism, your no-nonsense attitude, but also the fact that you have always wanted to do the right thing. The fact that Ross stood today and gave that speech was what we used to do when we first got on council. We actually stood when we were speaking. So to actually go back and reflect on that sort of thing is really cool. In some ways, your EM role has probably limited your ability to be able to contribute as much as you would, because your leadership skills are obvious and I think could have been well used. a bit wider if that had been the change. But I know that this is not the end of your contribution. Whatever happens on the weekend, your commitment and dedication to Foxton Beach especially, and the wider Foxton community will go on. But thank you very much. Cheers.
And to recognise that, again, I hope you can find some room on the wall at home rather than the office as well. Turn around, Ross. This will give you some proud moments to reflect on what you've done.
Genetically modified.
Linda, yeah.
Stunning.
Thank you, team. You're going to stay there, are you? All right. Okay. I'm now going to invite any other councillors who wish to say a few words, if they wish to, in no particular order. So, but just as I said, advised earlier that David and I are going to have the last word. So, anyone that wishes to speak now may do so. Councillor Jennings, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually just wanted to acknowledge Councillor Brannigan. I know that you voted right on many issues because David Allen was on the opposite side, so that's how I know you were right. Look, I want to acknowledge your and by extension your family's life of service. Most recently, obviously, 4 terms on council, but obviously a life in the police, your commitment through your business and your activity in the emergency management space. It truly has been a life of service, and I want to thank you for your service on behalf of your community. There has been some things throughout your council career which I think people don't truly appreciate your work on, for example, things like the District Licensing Committee and the Capital Steering Working Group. You know, some of those things that you've led and done a huge amount of work behind the scenes, and they're not always visible, and I don't think people really appreciate the work and effort that goes into those things. So I want to specifically mention and reference those. And I have always admired the way you've done your council business. You are a fierce advocate, and you are very pragmatic, and you've done a very good job at smoothing some of my rough edges, particularly over those first 3 years. And I was actually quite chuffed that I was sitting next to you today, because for the first 3 years of my first term, we sat next to each other in every single meeting, and you reminded me every meeting why I was wrong on some issues, or how I needed to change my approach. So, but in all seriousness, I really value the way that you've done council, and I've learned a lot from you, and I always appreciated your advice. While we have gone just different directions on some issues, for the most part, I think we've been very aligned in terms of our approach, and I want to wish you all the best for your the next part of your service, which I'm sure will be a spot on the community board and hopefully as chair. But look, I want to thank you very much for your service. Thanks, mate.
Councillor Olsen. I wasn't expecting to say too much, but I did write a few notes, so you'll have to bear with me. I guess first of all, I just want to acknowledge obviously my first 3 years, and it was fair to say I probably wasn't actually sure what I was signing up for, given that being a farmer, I like things happening quickly and at fast pace, and I guess it's fair to say council's probably been the opposite. But in saying that, I've learnt that being transparent to our community is actually making sure we follow due process and making sure we do things properly. So in saying that, I actually acknowledge that as well. I'd like to I probably respect the other councillors for their thoughts, their experiences, and their beliefs, and obviously a lot of them are very different to where I've come from. Like, I've probably got bias, and first to acknowledge that. But yeah, obviously that's democracy, and it's obviously very important. I want to acknowledge Mayor Burney. Just your leadership over the last 3 years has actually been really key, and for someone that's new, it's been really good to have that steady sort of hand and understand, what's expected, but also do things properly within the community. So thank you for that. David Allen's obviously. Sam's obviously mentioned that and probably voted quite differently to me on a number of instances, but I guess that's what it's about. But I do acknowledge David and his ability to give advice, especially for someone new that's probably struggling with process and the speed of pace. So yeah, just waffling, but really I too also want to acknowledge Ross. His leadership over the 12 years has been key. Definitely a solid hand, and somebody you can always go to get an opinion or a bit of advice, and that's something that I always look upon favourably. Just lastly, instead of carrying on waffling, to the staff and Monique, I really do appreciate it, and I do sincerely think that the community doesn't actually understand the commitment and the professionalism that the staff make with this organisation and what's delivered to our community. Often you see people beating up on everybody, everything's not happening at the same pace, or things aren't being achieved. But when you're actually inside on the treadmill yourself, you do understand why that is, and often it's just a time thing. So look, that's sort of it for me, but yeah, just want to acknowledge those people, and thank you.
Councillor Tamihana.
Kia ora mai tātai. Tūtahi mi ana ki a tātou kua tai mai nei. I raro i te tūne i tēnei whare. Tūroi mi ana ki a koe e te papa e te rangatira kua takutu i te tau pahuri ake nei. Tō tātou nei kingi tū heitia, e mihi nei ki aia kua takutu. Mihi anō ki tātumu te hiuhiu kua takutu, ko te ariki o tūwhare toa. E moe, e ok. E kōrero anō I roti te reo Pākehā nai nei. I just firstly wanted to get up and because in our annual plan today we've adopted, we actually had an acknowledgement to Kingi Tūheiti, and I think it's important as a council, respecting our iwi partners in our Māori community, that we acknowledge his passing, and also that of Tā Te Humu, Te Hiuhiu. There's a kōrero that I've shared recently, and it's Mate atu he te kura, hara maira he te kura, and it's quite relevant today because it's about when a fern frond dies, another fern frond grows, and that's exactly what we've seen in our Māori leadership around the country by Ngā Waihunu I te pō, tō tātou nei Queenie now taking the turu from her papa, and we see the same with Tātumu's son now standing as the ariki for Tūwhare Toa. And then here we are today as council, farewelling colleagues, friends, community leaders who are going to start on a new journey today, and I think it's appropriate to use that kōrero because we are those fronds right now that are at the end of a time, and come Saturday there's going to be some new fronds created that are going to be the new leadership in this district. I wanted to, firstly I wanted to acknowledge you, Bernie, and your leadership. I think it's absolutely appropriate what's been said. You have been a really great guider and a steer for us as council, and you've certainly helped, I think, mould all of us to be able to facilitate and work together even when we don't agree. To you, Deputy Mayor Allen, I extend the same. Thank you for your teachings and your knowledge, and while again we don't always see eye to eye, your knowledge and wisdom has been absolutely critical for me in picking up and learning some of those curving things that we needed to tidy up, which is still going. To my fellow councillors, thank you so much for everything that you have done, part of my own growth, my own learning, and my own commitment to wanting to stay and continue to serve our community. But it's because of you that I've actually wanted to come back. It's that diversity. It's that not knowing about everyone, but knowing what we're striving to achieve on behalf of our community. I really wanted to acknowledge Councillor Tukapua, who's not here, and her long service that she gave to our community. And again, and as Rogan pointed out earlier, there were some difficult conversations that happened in our term, but I certainly appreciate what Purahira had brought to the district in her time, and wish her all the very best with what she's doing. But I really want to turn my attention to Nina. I want to thank Nina for being brave to stand an award that was really controversial. I want to thank Nina for being steadfast as a Māori Ward councillor with me, navigating, I would consider, controversial spaces, places and times. And it's through the tenacity I feel of both of us, with our mana wahine and myself, collaborating, talking and discussing about the things that have been important to us in our term, but more importantly about those that we represent. We were really clear that we stood for our Māori community. We were really clear that we had strong principles and values. We call them tikanga and kaua, that guide us in our decisions. And why we don't always seem, probably by many in the public, as not supporting particular decisions or supporting particular directions, is because we actually have a different lens. We really do consider ourselves people of the earth, people of the whenua. Regardless of how people want to look at it, our connection to the environment and our connection to everything within it is absolutely a part of our makeup, and that's why we will continue, both of us, to try and serve this community, maybe in different roles, but the reality is that we're willing to serve and we're willing to bring that change, and we're actually willing to hear our community. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you for those learnings, for those offerings that have all come, positive or negative. It helps us grow and it helps us understand ourselves better to make good decisions. To Monique and your team, thank you so much. I don't need to resonate the words that have been said because it's really true. I did laugh at the other one though about the tornado left the building. I do wonder that sometimes because I get that stare from you every now and then too, and I know that shit, I'm pushing something up the hill here. But but again, I appreciate you and your staff and the tremendous effort that you undertake on behalf of our community. And I'll resonate the words that have been said. Our community never actually understand what we as council do, as in councillors, and the role that you as our CEO and the multiple staff and matters that you have to deal with. And I really want to encourage people to understand the complexity of that. And you are balancing so many things. And I think Ross said herding sheep at times, yes, maybe herding horses. But anyway, you do an incredible job, and we are lucky to have you and your leadership. And long shall that continue. That brings betterment to our community. So that's it from me. Thank you to our beautiful Mani Te Ore Ore, our speakers, our kapahaka performers. It was a beautiful performance. And yeah, that's it from me. But just wanted to acknowledge everyone and wish everyone the very best for their futures. Good night.
Anyone else? Okay, David, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I feel I've probably inflicted myself already quite a lot on you, but I want to inflict myself once more. So bear with me. Lunch is not far away. So look, first of all, I guess there's three parts to what I want to say. The first is to echo the words of others about the extraordinary organisation that works alongside us under the guidance of Monique. It's my belief, Monique and the team, that you have worked together to create one of the finest organisations in New Zealand when it comes to performance and towards everything being about the people we serve. So I absolutely acknowledge that, and we are so lucky to have you and the team. Secondly, there are individual councillors who I will talk to if I haven't already, but I want to publicly acknowledge Nina and Justin and the work that you have done to reaffirm in my mind the importance of Māori at the table in the Hora Whenua. We know there have been challenges. We know there have been times where there have been real frustration around conflicting points of view. But my word, those points of view are so important. We need to hear them. And for me, the most important news I want to hear on Saturday, sometime after midday, is a reaffirmation of a Māori ward continuing in the Hora Whenua. And finally, Mr. Mayor, I want to turn the spotlight on you. And people have talked about your leadership, and I want to thank you for your leadership. Your leadership has been inclusive. The way that you have recognised that it's about listening, truly listening, that is the way that leadership can be at its most effective. You are such a good listener to all points of view. But I also want to acknowledge that when it's come time to speak, you've done so with clarity and decisiveness. Thank you for being a mayor for the whole district. Ross and I can attest, for example, to the fact that your presence and connection with the people of our ward, Kirikiri Ward, is both palpable and very much valued. You have worked many long hours in the service of our district, and I want to acknowledge Sharon, and it's lovely to see you here today, Sharon. I want to acknowledge you and Sharon, the team together, for the work that you've done. For being a mayor, and I want to say too, and we've mentioned this metaphor before, that this thing about herding cats, the position of mayor is such an amazingly challenging one, whichever district you're in. You have one vote, and at the end of the day, you have to look at the cats that you're herding, and you have to hope for the best and work the very best with them. And there have been challenging times, Mr. Mayor, but I believe I speak for all of us when I say this. Even in the most challenging moments, you have modelled a leadership characterised by grace and by dignity. So thank you for the leadership you've shown. And I include your leadership during the most challenging of times, the tornadoes that were mentioned before, the boy racer issues and those other times. We can all be proud of the way you supported the community during those crises and for the way also that you fronted the media, both locally and nationally. Your empathy for those affected was evident throughout. At a personal level, it's been a deep privilege to serve as your deputy. Thank you for the faith and the trust you placed in me. Thank you again, Mayor Byrne.
I don't know what to say, David. Thank you. I appreciate those comments very much. I do, though, have a bit of a speech that I constructed half an hour before we started this meeting, which is generally my way of doing stuff, thinking about the things that have been mulled over in my mind for probably a month or so now. But, you know, October 2022 seems like a long time ago. 8 new councillors arrived through these doors, including for the first time 2 Maori ward councillors. And knowing what it was like when I did the same in 2016, I can imagine the thinking as you walked into the unknown, the uncertainty, the anxiousness of what was going to be in front of you. But also, I hope, with a substantial amount of pride as you recognised that you were endorsed by your community to play a part in shaping. Nothing can really prepare you for what does lay in front of you, and that is one of the best things about this role. Every day is different. Each has its own challenges and surprises. Back in 2022, if you thought you were stepping into the unknown, then you can imagine how I was wondering how a table of 13 was going to develop into a positive and constructive governance table. At our inauguration meeting, I made a couple of statements. Firstly, that I wanted to get things done, and secondly, that we would do our utmost to engage and be upfront with our community. And I believe we can give ourselves a great big pass mark on both those objectives. We have got stuff done, and it's not just the big items like local water done well, O2NL, Town Centre, the Maori Engagement Framework or water meters that we can take pride in, but it's also the stuff that happened within individual communities that have made a huge difference. The community plans, Wairere Surf Club building, Te Maori Park, Manukau Domain, see the splash pad completed, just to name a few. Along with this, we have had to face some really tough choices. Who would have thought we would be talking about the cutting of services as we did for the long-term plan and adopting the highest rates increase ever seen in the district? Despite this, it was a personal highlight for me that we adopted the long-term plan unanimously. For this table to understand and deliver on the realities of what we were facing, I think was quite remarkable. Being upfront and open with our community is tough, but it is something that I'm proud that we have not shied away from. The OPR, all the media channels, citizen panels coupled with the councillor, all the forums where community members are invited to attend, they have all contributed to enabling our community, if they want to be informed and aware of the many great things that this organisation does, they can be. I want to thank all councillors for the part they have played in ensuring good governance has been maintained through this term, and I hope you individually can reflect positively on that contribution. The spectrum of views and opinions is much wider today than it ever has been, and to reach a consensus at times can be extremely challenging, but we have done that. And I can't recall a decision that has been made which I think has not been in the best interests of the district. I do want to especially thank Deputy Mayor David for his support through this term. It took me more than one conversation to convince him that he was the right person for the job, but I am so grateful he did accept it. His wisdom and his ability to articulate his views are things that I am very envious of, and I have valued his sage advice on many, many occasions through the last 3 years, and his ability to deliver me a cup of coffee when I've needed it most. Our district and Foxton is particularly so lucky that we have people of his calibre representing them. Thanks, David. There are so many other people to thank and acknowledge for enabling this table to function as it does, but I do want to especially acknowledge our Chief Executive, Monique. Monique has been relentless in striving to make this organisation one of excellence, and from what I observe, she is a long way down that path to achieving that. That can't be achieved without great support, and I also want to acknowledge the dedication, commitment that all staff have made to make this community a much better place. Thank you all. I know it gets undervalued, underappreciated, but we around this table value it tremendously, and you've been a real pleasure to work with. Can I acknowledge my wife? She's allowed me to do this role. I'm getting used to her going on holiday by herself, but she keeps me grounded. And at times I get interrogations when I get home for decisions that she doesn't agree with. But I wouldn't be doing this without her. Thank you, dear. While at times this role can be an unforgiving and lonely one, for the most part it is invigorating and enjoyable, and always a privilege and an honour that I totally respect. Thank you all. Best wishes for the future, whatever that may be. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Very much appreciated. So, we are at the end. And without any further procrastination, can we finish with our karakia and close off our meeting? Thank you. Kia whakaeria te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia tūriki whakata ai. Kia tūriki whakata ai. Haumi e, hui e, tai ki e. Thank you all. Let's go and enjoy some lunch.